Broadcasting live from an undisclosed location. This is the TCMMA podcast with your host, Chris Cross.
Whoa!
Dana White privilege.
Let's go, baby! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go, baby!
Dana White privilege. Privilege.
Welcome to the TCMMA podcast. It's your boy Chris Cross, and this is the show we've been waiting for a long time. Now, you haven't seen me for a few days on the podcast because I've been down and out, man. I've been in bed for like 5 straight days. So it's good to be upright, moving around a little bit better, feeling better, and hopefully that continues in a lead up to Saturday night, where the UFC will be at the Sphere, one of the biggest nights in UFC history. A one and done is what Dana White is saying, right? They'll never be in the Sphere again. So you have all that going on this week. But yeah, man, I've been down and out. I've been hurt. No energy. Nose all stuffed up, going through it all. Dizzy when you stand up. Sleeping for days. It's been interesting. But we're back, and we're back in a big way because it doesn't get any better when you have Sean O'Malley on the ticket.
I love the Sugar Show.
Yes, sir, you already know.
I love the Sugar Show.
That's right. Sean O'Malley is a top 10 guy on the dude list for sure.
Sugar Show, baby! Woo!
So we're excited. I mean, we are absolutely excited for this one. He's got a very tough fight, though, with Dvalishvili. Make no mistake about it. It's not going to be an easy fight. He's going to have to defend takedowns. But you know what? We're going to get into all that because we got 6 big predictions for you. We're going to preview the other 4 fights. We're getting into it all. But before that, before we get into the predictions for UFC 306, let's talk about some things that are in the news. Number 1, Merab Dvalishvili warns Sean O'Malley of consequences for UFC 306 withdrawal. So he's already concerned that O'Malley might withdraw. So we're going to circle back to that before the big prediction and the final prediction for the main event. DC Daniel Cormier issues warning to Brian Ortega heading into Noche UFC, which is just another name for UFC 306. So what's the big warning, right? I mean, what does Brian Ortega have to be worried about? Losing? Of course. Also, why Robert Whittaker is the perfect challenge for Khamzat Chimaev at UFC 308. I mean, it doesn't get better for Khamzat. I mean, you got a guy on Robert Whittaker who's looked really good lately. Went in there and dominated Aliskerov. And it just makes the fight even bigger because no one can now say he's washed up and all that. We just saw a fight in which it proved that he wasn't. And finally, Tom Aspinall says he's trying to provoke Jon Jones into a fight. I'm trying to test his ego, is what he's saying. So let's save Daniel Cormier's warning for Brian Ortega before the co-main event. And let's save Merab Dvalishvili's warning for the main event. So we're going to circle back to those big topics because they have to do with what's happening right now. But before we get into UFC 306 and let everything else go, let's first talk about why Robert Whittaker is the perfect challenge for Khamzat Chimaev. Notice that's the way the sentence is put in the headline, not the other way around. It's the perfect challenge for Khamzat, not for Robert Whittaker. Because right now, as far as we're concerned, Khamzat is the elite. He's the guy. Until he gets knocked from that pedestal, that's how we're going to feel. And even if he does, probably we'll still feel that way. He just got some work to do or something like that. But that doesn't seem likely to me. It seems like Khamzat is going to go in there and win this fight. Will it be pretty at times? Maybe not. But it's a 5-round fight. So I think Khamzat knows, hey, I can't really go 5 rounds with Whittaker. I mean, I can, but we don't want that to be the plan. That can't be the plan.
These judges, dog, these judges.
Because even if you make it through 5 against a guy like Whittaker, then you put it in the judges' hands. I mean, and the judges can do anything, as we've seen over the past 3 weeks.
These judges, dog, these judges.
Just robbing fighters. And plus, Robert Whittaker's used to going 5 rounds. I mean, he's used to going 5 rounds, or at least being in 5-round fights. Chimaev's big question right now is the gas tank, because in the last couple fights, it looks like, okay, when he goes later, guys get him into the 3rd round, anything is possible. And therefore, what would happen in the 4th and 5th round, right? These are the big talks. This is why it's the perfect challenge for Khamzat, because there's a lot of questions to be answered. But if I'm Khamzat, I'm not trying to answer any questions in this fight. I'm not thinking about 5 rounds. I'm going right in there, and I'm on the attack as soon as that bell rings and it's time to go. When it's go time, I'm on the attack. We don't want to answer any questions right now about the endurance or the gas tank or health or anything like that, or take a chance of getting hurt later in the fight. Any of those things are possibilities here. And they're magnified, right? Because of everything that's gone on with Khamzat over the last 3 years. But despite having to pull out of fights, the guy's still 13-0. He's still undefeated. And the sky is the limit. And he's 30 years old now. He's right in the prime of the career for the next 4 to 6 years. But you don't want to waste another year or two. The time is now. Like, he's wasted too much time. And you can be doing these things at 32, 34 years old, but then you're headed towards the cliff quickly, right? And Khamzat too will hit that age. So the time is now. That's why it's a perfect matchup, perfect challenge for Khamzat. Totally agree. Moving forward, Tom Aspinall says he's trying to provoke Jon Jones into a fight. I'm trying to test his ego, is what Tom Aspinall is saying. But also saying, he's ready for the backup role. And it's still, I know we've talked about this and pushed this topic, but it's still amazing to me that Stipe, who hasn't won a fight in 4 years, is fighting for the title because of what he did in the past. I mean, no one else could have. He's got to be one of the first people ever to not have won a fight in 4 years and fighting for the title. And I'm not talking about someone coming in and just getting a lucky break or whatever. I'm saying, which is hard too. I don't know if that's ever happened. Probably back in the day, but it's hard to believe that, whatever you say about Stipe, the guy hasn't won a fight in like 4 years. And unfortunately for Jon Jones, the story only magnifies for him because the storyline for him is that he only fights like once every 2 years. Even when he was a light heavyweight champ, things would get stalled out, whether it be injury or whatever. So now that he's injured, it makes it even worse. Because it's like, now you got the heavyweight title and you're dragging that out. It's just, Tom Aspinall should be the guy, and unfortunately he's not. And don't be surprised if they make, Tom Aspinall knows he might wait up to a year and a half to actually fight Jon Jones if that fight ever happens. The way things have gone for Jon Jones is he may win this fight, sit on the title for 6 to 8 months, and then retire. You just don't know. And he's my number 2 on the do list behind Khamzat. I like Jon Jones. But it's like, you got to fight. But at the same time, he's smart. He's a lot like Colby Covington. You only fight when you can win. Or if you're not going to win, in Colby's case, at least you're fighting for the title. So, Colby's done that his whole career. Like right now, he's not going to fight until it's a perfect opponent that puts him 1 fight away from the title. But it's getting harder to dodge guys because you got Shevchenko and Ian Gary and all those guys coming up. So it's a little bit different of a story, obviously. Plus, Colby's never been the champ. But Jon Jones is just really good at fighting the guys that can keep him on top. At the same time, he's never lost. So he's a perfectionist at this. Make no mistake about it. But guess what? It's time to jump into UFC 306. Let's get into the first fight of the night. And this one is going to be exciting because it's been pushed back a few times. So that might have been the last one. But nonetheless, we do get to see Raul Rosas Jr. in the octagon again. Mexican heritage. As far as this big card, you're going to have Mexicans up and down this card. It's just going to be a great night for Mexico. And it starts out quickly here, so let's get to it. Raul Rosas Jr., right now the 19-year-old phenom, was once the 17-year-old phenom. Now he's 19. But let's get into that fight first. In the bantamweight division at UFC 306, this is going to be a crowd pleaser for sure. You got Raul Rosas Jr., the young, I think he's 19 years old still, phenom, taking on Aoriqileng. Aoriqileng. So a lot of anticipation for this one. Rosas Jr. 9-1. Aoriqileng 25-10. This is Mexico versus China. Rosas 2 inches taller, 5'9". Yeah, he's just 19. It's crazy to see. Aoriqileng 31, right in the prime. Aoriqileng 2-inch reach advantage. He stands right-handed. Rosas Jr. is a switch stance fighter, landing just 1.1 significant strikes per minute right now. Not very good, to 5.3 for Aoriqileng. So you know where Aoriqileng is going to want to go. But Rosas can land like a takedown and a half per round. Aoriqileng lands like one every other round. But the takedown defense for Aoriqileng is in the 50s, like 53%. That's not going to cut it. Raul Rosas Jr. hasn't even had to really defend. Well, he was taken down once, and he failed to stop it. So his takedown defense is 0, but that doesn't really matter. It's just 1. In his last fight, he beat Ricky Tercios with 4 takedowns, submitted him. Beat Terrence Mitchell by KO. So he's got the ability to finish you in both ways. His only loss to Christian Rodriguez. Did not look good in that fight. He trailed 29-2, just 2 significant strikes in that fight. He was just controlled by the older Rodriguez, more experienced. Aoriqileng coming off the no contest of Daniel Marcos, so wiped that clean. Beat Johnny Munoz by decision, was KO'd by Ayman Zahabi. And before that, he won a pair of fights against Jay Perrin and Cameron Else. But listen, there's going to be a lot of hype around this fight. The crowd's going to go crazy for Rosas Jr. He's going to deliver. The guy is going to, as good as he already is, he's just going to get better and better and better. And they learned something about the Christian Rodriguez matchup. Give this guy some softballs. And although Aoriqileng can strike, Rosas Jr. should be able to dominate him if he wants to take him to the ground and finish him. That'll work in this fight, and he may need to utilize that. Even though he's got to get the significant strikes per minute up. Right now, you got to win, and he's going to win this thing on the ground, in my opinion, to move to 10-1, bantamweight division, UFC 306. Yeah, so let's not forget about Rosas Jr., right? I mean, the guy came in with all this hype. He did lose one to Christian Rodriguez, but he's young. He's only going to get better. You're looking, I mean, the guy's 19 years old. We talk about guys hitting 30 all the time. He's got 11 years. Well, if you think 27 is the prime, 27 to 33, right? He's got 8 years before he even hits the prime. The beginning of I mean, it's just, so the one loss doesn't even matter. What matters is he continues to fight the right guys. You know, give him 2 to 4 years from now before you even put him in line for a title. Like, he should be fighting for the title when he's 23 to 25. So give him fights right now that he can win, and this is one of them. Now, Aoriqileng's no slouch, but you know I'm going with Raul Rosas Jr. We love the guy, and we know the future and what he's capable of to dictate his own path. So look for him to win. Now, as we jump into the main card in Fight 5, you got Ronaldo Rodriguez taking on Ode Osbourne. And this is a big opportunity for both guys. But I look at Ode Osbourne as having the bigger opportunity because you know the name. He's got to put together some wins, and he gets an opportunity at the biggest level in the sphere, in the main card. And you got to win this. Both guys got it. Everyone wants to win. But this is a big one for Ode Osbourne, if you ask me. But that doesn't mean we're going to pick him. Let's see what happens. Let's see what we do. In the flyweight division at UFC 306, you got Ronaldo Rodriguez taking on your boy, Ode Osbourne. The Mexican Rodriguez is 17-2. Osbourne 12-7. Mexican versus Jamaican. Osbourne, 1 inch taller at 5'7". He's 32. Rodriguez is 25. Osbourne, about a 7-inch reach advantage. He fights left-handed or southpaw. Rodriguez stands right-handed. Osbourne has the advantage on the feet. 3.5 significant strikes per minute to just 2 for Rodriguez. Both guys land just over a takedown every 3 rounds. So Rodriguez got to pick it up in this fight. He's got a 63% takedown defense. Beat Denise Bondar by submission in his UFC debut. Lost to Jerome Rivera by decision at the Contender Series. Had a couple of takedowns, but got dominated on the feet. Osbourne, 64% takedown defense. This guy's been around forever. But he's lost 3 of the last 4 to UFC fighters. Keep that in mind. Tyson Nam, Asu Amabayev, and Jafel Filio. All 3 by finish. He did beat Charles Johnson by split decision. And man, this is going to be a tough one, but I'm going to lean towards Ronaldo Rodriguez. I mean, the guy's won 17 of 19 fights. It's going to be a flyweight fight. I'd love to see him get the finish, but he's got to get more active on the feet. That's the only concerning thing here. I know he's got a lot of hype, and he only has 2 UFC fights, so we'll see what he can do. Well, he's got 1 UFC fight and 1 contender series, but with stats. So he's just got to pick up the pace, man. Takedowns are great if you can get finishes or ground and pound, but you can't just hold the guy down. He's got to do something in this fight. Because Osbourne, don't let the 12-7 record fool you. He's going to bring it. But Rodriguez wins, in my opinion, by close decision to move to 18-2. Look for him to get over 50, 60 significant strikes and about 4 or 5 takedowns if he's going to win here in the flyweight division, UFC 306. Yeah, so despite me being a big believer that this is a huge opportunity for Ode Osbourne especially, still got to go with Ronaldo Rodriguez. And see, that's how the predictions work. At the end of the day, we go with who we think's going to win. And a lot of trash has been talked lately about the picks, right? But right now, I hate to tell you, but we're rolling. 18-12 in the main event, plus 83 in wins and losses on the year. Struggled out the gate. First 3 months, rough. 4-7 in the main event coming out. Now we're 18-12. So we're rolling, man. We're rolling. That doesn't mean we're going to keep rolling. But right now, we're rolling. So in some of the earlier fights, got to pull this up on the phone because the internet is down right now, but it's all good. Edgar Chairez and Joshua Van. That's going to be a big one in the second fight of the night. That's a flyweight division fight. And right now, Chairez is a huge underdog. Joshua Van expected to win that one. You got Yasmin Uregui and Kellen Souza getting ready to throw down in the third fight of the night. There's only 10 fights on this card. Uregui's a huge favorite. Another fight that's trending really well right now is Manuel Torres and Ignacio Bahamondes. And I look because the main event should be getting the most views and then on down to the lowest one. And when one of those leapfrogs other fights, like this one, a lot of people are talking about it. And then, of course, the main event in the prelims, if you will, Irene Aldana versus Norma Dumont. And that one is basically even. I mean, that's a huge fight. 15-7 Aldana, but with a lot of experience against the Brazilian 11-2 Norma Dumont. So looking forward to that one. But now, as we continue forward in Fight 4, you got Daniel Zellhuber taking on Esteban Ribovicz. And this fight is getting a lot of traction as well. There's a lot of Ribovicz fans out there. And a lot of guys that want to see him lose. So that, when you got a figure like that, it causes a lot of people to weigh in with their opinions. But let's get into what we believe is going to happen. In the lightweight division at UFC 306, you got Daniel Zellhuber taking on Esteban Ribovicz. And this is a fight that people obviously can't wait to see. One of the best divisions in the UFC. And 2 really good fighters. Make no mistake about it. Now Zellhuber, 15-1. Ribovicz, 13-1. You can see why there's a lot of anticipation. Now, Zellhuber, 3 inches taller at 6'1". He's 25. Ribovicz, 28. So both guys still early in their career. Ribovicz is entering his prime, though. Keep that in mind. Zellhuber, 8-inch reach advantage. He's a switch stance fighter. Ribovicz fights right-handed. Both guys right around 6 significant strikes per minute. So a lot of activity on the feet. Ribovicz can take the fight to the ground. And just so you know, this is Mexico versus Argentina. Now, Zellhuber, a.k.a. Golden Boy, 94% takedown defense. He's coming off the win over Francisco Prado. Decision. He submitted Christos Giagos and won a decision over Lando Venata. So the guy's rolling right now. Ribovicz beat Terrence McKinney. I like that. First round KO. Wow. And Camuel Leclerc by decision. So it's confusing, though, because he lost to Loic Razabov by decision. Taken down 11 times. Unbelievable. He led by 26 significant strikes, but got stuck in all those takedowns. Well, that won't be a problem here. The only problem is Zellhuber can strike too. But listen, I got to go with Ribovicz here. I don't like that he lost to Loic Razabov, right? That's concerning. And Zellhuber is a really good fighter. Ooh-wee, this is tough. And there's going to be a lot of Mexican fans there rooting for him. But I'm going to take Esteban Ribovicz to sneak out a victory here. I mean, lightweight division is going to be great. He's not going to have to defend 11 takedowns like he did in his lone loss. That really hurt him. It's something he's got to get better at, but I still like him to win this fight. Both guys are going to be on the feet. A lot of activity. It's going to be a good one to watch, but I'll take Ribovicz, in my opinion, to win a decision to move to 14-1 lightweight division, UFC 306. And I know some people are with me on this, some people are against me on this, and it's not an easy pick because Zellhuber's a bad dude as well. I mean, it's not an easy pick, but we'll take Ribovicz to keep rolling. I mean, the guy's been impressive so far, and I expect him to keep on grinding. Make no mistake about it. 14-1 is what he's looking at if he can get the victory. Now, as you work your way up, I said co-main event earlier, but I was mistaken, and I knew better. Brian Ortega takes on Diego Lopes in fight 3, and this is going to be an interesting fight. And before we get into the pick, you had Daniel Cormier issuing a warning to Brian Ortega. And these quotes are via MMA News. He says, "I think this fight is going to be very telling as to where Brian Ortega is in his career. If you can't beat these young up-and-comers, it becomes difficult to stay where you've lived your entire career. Ortega has to live at the top of the card for as long as we can remember." Yeah, he's been at the top forever. If he loses to a guy like Lopes, a guy who's on the run, a guy who's making his way to the top of the division, it becomes a bit of a changing of the guard. And he continues, but listen, the point is Cormier is right, and this is often a storyline in the UFC. I mean, and we see this on our do list all the time. You have the old guard, like in the lightweight division, the old guard was holding firm for a long time. Still are with Poirier and Gaethje and all those guys. Gaethje lost to Holloway, but for a long time, those guys were beating all challengers below them. But eventually, you get a ripple, and a guy, one of the old guards goes down, and it's wide open. And that's what we're seeing right now in the welterweight division. And I keep saying this with Shavkat and Ian Gary and all these guys and a few others that are on the rise. And the old guard, like Colby and Usman, and even, I mean, Bilal is champ, yeah, it counts, but eventually Bilal will fall too. Maybe not for a while, but these young up-and-comers are coming, and when you lose, it definitely is a changing of the guard. So that's something to keep an eye on. But listen, let's get into this fight. This is a big one. Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopes. In the featherweight division at UFC 306, you got Brian Ortega taking on Diego Lopes. And people have been waiting for this fight. Ortega had to pull out of the previous fight. He's 16-3. Lopes, the Brazilian, 25-6. Lopes 3 inches taller at 5'11". He's just 29. Ortega 33. So both guys still in that prime window. Lopes has a 4-inch reach advantage. He stands right-handed. Ortega stands whichever way he wants. He's a switch stance fighter. I like that. It's always a big advantage. Ortega lands 4.1 significant strikes per minute to 3.2 for Lopes. Ortega also lands 1 takedown every 3 rounds. Lopes like 1 every 9. So he's not even trying to take it to the ground. And when you look at Lopes's numbers, it's hard to believe he's 25-6. So there's a lot of intangibles there and ways of winning. Now, Ortega, a.k.a. T-City, 57% takedown defense, not great, but won't matter here. Coming off the win over Yair Rodriguez by arm triangle submission in the 3rd round. He lost to Yair before that by KO and lost to Volkanovski by decision. So, you know, basically you can wipe away the Yair first fight as he came back and got the victory in the next fight, right? Before that, he beat Chan Sung Jung, dominated him. The Korean Zombie, 127-62 in significant strikes. So T-City is still up there, man. Lopes is unstoppable in the last 4 fights. 3 finishes against Sadiq Youssef. That's a big one. Pat Sabatini, Gavin Tucker. And then he beat Dan 50K Ige, who took the fight on that day's notice and beat him by decision. Dan Ige didn't fight bad at all. Lopes had a training camp and should have dominated that fight, but he couldn't do it. And that's why I still say, as I said before, the first time around, Brian Ortega is going to win this fight. I mean, I can't go against Brian Ortega. This guy's a bad dude, man. And, you know, he's not too old yet to where he can't win a fight like this. He should win this fight, in my opinion. He should dominate on the feet or on the ground or wherever this thing goes. I like T-City to get the job done here, whether it be by finish or by decision. Who knows? But he's going to dominate, in my opinion, to move to 17-3. Featherweight division. UFC 306. Yeah, changing of the guard will come, but it's not coming yet. I still think Brian Ortega will fight for the title again. He's going to hold firm at the top here. But if Diego Lopes beats him, yeah, it's like Daniel Cormier said, and that's why he warned him. Which you don't have to warn the guy because he already knows this, and he's probably challenging himself more than anyone else can challenge him. That's just how Brian Ortega, a.k.a. T-City, is. And I expect him to get the win here, hands down. Easy. Should easily get the win here. We'll see. Now, as we creep into the co-main event, I can't stress how big of a fight this is. Alexa Grasso, the champ, versus Shevchenko. So when they fought the first time, Shevchenko lost the belt in the second round, or third round. I can't remember which one it was, but it took a little while, and then it happened. She gave up the back, happened very quickly, and she got submitted. Second fight, she comes in. I believe she won the fight. We'll get into the stats here in a minute, but it ended up being a draw. In the prediction, I'm actually wrong. I'll let you know ahead of time. It wasn't a loss by Shevchenko, but it was a draw. And that's what made because as I'm doing the prediction, I'm like, why did she lose twice and there's a rematch? Because I made the mistake that it was actually a draw. And that creates the rematch. But I thought Shevchenko won that fight. But listen, man, when you leave it in the judges' hands, these judges, dog, these judges. So if I'm Shevchenko, I can't leave this one in the judges' hands. I got to go in there and plan on getting the victory. That's the bottom line. But will she get it? That doesn't mean we're picking her. As you've seen before, take our pick seriously. Plan on winning every time. And we got to break it down and go for the win, not who we necessarily like. But then again, that's why the do list was created, because it does get confusing with some guys you really believe who are going to beat anybody. But let's get into this one. Co-main event. Big one for Mexico right now. In the women's flyweight division, for the women's flyweight division title, your co-main event. At UFC 306, you got champion Alexa Grasso taking on Valentina Shevchenko, the former champ. This is the trilogy, and Grasso has won each of the last two fights. We'll get into that in a moment. Now Grasso 16-3, Shevchenko 23-4. Both women stand 5-5. Grasso 31, Shevchenko's 36. Shevchenko 1-inch reach advantage. She fights left-handed. Grasso fights right-handed. Grasso is more active on the feet, believe it or not. Right, 4.7 significant strikes per minute to 3.3. But on the ground, in terms of takedowns, even though Grasso submitted Shevchenko in the first fight, it's Shevchenko that lands nearly one takedown per round, and that is held up against Grasso, where she has 8 takedowns in the last 2 fights, and many people believe she won the last fight. Right? Now, Grasso, 59% takedown defense, not great. Shevchenko took her down 4 times in the last fight. Grasso led 84-80 in significant strikes, so it was very close. But people feel like Shevchenko won with those 4 takedowns in control time. In the previous fight, Grasso submitted Shevchenko in the 4th round. But you got to consider, in 9 rounds, Shevchenko has 8 takedowns. It seems like she got better in the second fight, and in fact may have even won the fight, despite the judges' decision, right? 2 judges for Grasso, 1 judge for Shevchenko. So this fight is going to be very, very close. It's going to come down to the wire, and Shevchenko is going to win, or Shevchenko is just going to go out there and try to dominate in the first 2 rounds and get a finish. But one way or another, I believe Shevchenko is going to win this fight. I cannot see her falling to the same person 3 times in a row. It's just not going to happen, in my opinion. Although Grasso is a really good fighter and a bona fide champion. But it's hard to beat someone or another team 3 times in a row. We all know that in sports. So I like Shevchenko to have the edge here. The fight is basically a toss-up. It's even. Both fighters basically even, as we saw in the last fight, except Shevchenko landing a lot more takedowns than Grasso. We'll see if that pays off here. I believe it will. Shevchenko by decision in my book, but we'll take her to win one way or the other to get the title back and move to 24-4 here in the women's flyweight division for the title. Your co-main event at UFC 306. And again, the last fight was a draw, not a loss by Shevchenko. So it's not like Grasso's trying to win 3 times in a row. the momentum seems to be in Shevchenko's corner, as long as she doesn't get submitted, which Grasso, we see now, we know, is very capable of doing. But Shevchenko's going to have to dominate the ground and take the lead in significant strikes. That's the thing here is, yeah, position, but you got to land significant strikes too, even on the ground. You can't be down 84-80 and let the judges be confused. You got to have 4 or 5 takedowns, and you got to lead, like, let's just say 90-65 in significant strikes, make it obvious, and you get the title back. And very capable of doing that, and that's, in fact, what I think is going to happen. Now it's time for the main event. I mean, and this is a big one. It's been coming. Sean O'Malley's basically cleared out the division, minus Merab Dvalishvili, and then, of course, you got Umar Nurmagomedov on the outside looking in, too. So guys are still coming up. But Merab is warning Sean O'Malley about pulling out of this fight. He's saying on UFC Embedded, if you've been watching, O'Malley, he tried to be bully. He tried to talk, but he don't know that. That doesn't work on me. I'm going to beat him more because of that. He's been bullying, disrespectful to me. I won't be sad when I beat him. He's good, but he's lucky. I wish fight was tomorrow. And I'll be honest, it's really weird to hear a guy of this caliber at this height of fighting to say another guy is bullying him. I mean, this is the whole aspect of the sport, is you're trying to get in there, not like in the real world sense of bullying, but in the octagon, in a UFC fight sense of bullying. That's what the whole thing is. I mean, the whole goal is to bully your opponent, and some of that comes down to the trash talk before the fight, because you're trying to get in your opponent's head. Now, Merab is saying you can't get in my head, but by responding, you're already in his head. So while he's saying he's not in my head, don't even respond. Just go out there and fight. But that's why guys like McGregor and O'Malley and Covington and a host of others put a lot of effort and faith into the word games before the fight. It's all by design. So O'Malley doesn't care what Merab is saying. It doesn't matter to him at all. He's ready to go in there and fight. And he's glad that Merab is responding, because that means, hey, my words are working. They're getting in your head. I want you to come out and try to strike a little bit, because everyone knows this fight, it's real simple. It comes down to, can Merab land takedowns at the pace that he does in every other fight? Or can O'Malley's strike game stop the takedowns and he'll get the win that way? So that's what it comes down to. And it's going to be interesting to see how it all transpires. So let's get into that preview and prediction right now. In the bantamweight division, for the bantamweight division title at UFC 306, you got Sugar Sean O'Malley coming in at 18-1, impressive, taking on Merab Dvalishvili, who finally gets a shot. He comes in at 17-4. This is USA versus Georgia. Now O'Malley's 5 inches taller, right? He usually is 5'11" to 5'6". He's 29, unbelievable, not even hitting 30 yet. Dvalishvili 33. O'Malley 4-inch reach advantage. He's a switch stance fighter. Merab stands right-handed. O'Malley 7.6 significant strikes per minute to 4.5 for Merab, but the takedown game from Merab is impressive, and that's something to keep an eye on. He lands over 2 per round on average. O'Malley just 62% takedown defense. He's coming off the win over Marlon Vera by decision. Aljamain Sterling KO. Petr Yan split decision. Before that, he beat Raulian Paiva, Chris Moutinho. So he's basically, he did have a no contest against Pedro Munoz. So he's unbeaten since August 15th, 2020, when he lost to Marlon Vera. He's just been impressive. Now, Dvalishvili is coming off the win over Henry Cejudo by decision. Petr Yan, decision. What he did to Petr Yan was just ridiculous. 11 takedowns to 147 to 75. And many people are going to be looking at this fight because Petr Yan actually took down O'Malley 6 times. Still lost. But Merab is going to go for takedown after takedown, and that's really going to decide the fight. Can O'Malley get out of it? I mean, Merab could easily hold him down for 3 or 4 rounds and win this fight when you look on paper. But O'Malley has the will to win. He finds ways to win. Yeah, he was taken down 6 times by Petr Yan, but guess what? He still won the fight. But this is why Dvalishvili is the favorite. I'm not buying it. I think Sean O'Malley still wins. He's going to have trouble with the takedown game of Dvalishvili. He'll probably give up 8 to 10 minutes of control time, to be honest. But he'll get through it and find a way to victory. Hard to say how. He probably is going to need a KO, and hopefully he gets it. But he also has an opportunity to win 3 of the 5 rounds. So I like one of those 2 to happen for him to move to 19-1. It's just a pure striker versus a takedown specialist here in the bantamweight division. That's my opinion. O'Malley gets the job done, keeps the belt here in the bantamweight division at UFC 306. Yeah, so, I mean, listen, we're not going against O'Malley. That's our guy. He's on the do list, top, 6? Is he number 6? Pull that up. Yeah, he's number 5. Yeah, once you hit top 5, it's a different level. Look at those top 5. Hamza, Jon Jones, Alex Pereira, Islam, and Sean O'Malley. So, yeah, we're not going against Sean O'Malley in this one, obviously. But when you do look at Merab, he's still there in the top 20 because I got to give him respect. And knowing that he could win this fight, and it'll launch him way up real quick. Even though he's not one of my favorite guys, if he beats O'Malley, I mean, that's crazy. Because now you're the champion. You basically take over all of what O'Malley has done in one fight. So O'Malley can't take this fight lightly. He never does. That's not a problem. Not even worried about that at all. More just worried about Merab's ability to pressure you, get in your face. Now, Sean O'Malley is excellent, like Jon Jones, at using the strike game to defend the takedowns to keep your opponent off you, and second guessing when to come in and keeping him off balance. He's an expert at that. But is this the guy that could step to O'Malley and break through that? And the pressure is enduring, never ending throughout the fight, and he captures a title. I mean, it's you know, and if that happens, it's going to look like O'Malley didn't come to fight. It's going to look like Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad, who had a great game plan in that fight. Did not see that coming. Didn't think he could just pressure Leon the whole fight. I thought the strike game of Leon would take over, like I do here O'Malley, but it didn't. So anything is possible. I mean, we are, won't be surprised if Merab pulls it off. I mean, these are title fights. You can't be surprised whichever way it goes. You just got to make a pick and stand with it. And I just like O'Malley because he just continues to find ways to win. So that's who we got in this one, man. And it's going to be exciting because it's just Saturday night. I mean, it's just a few days away. Looking forward to it. But listen, for now, that's going to do it. It's been a great show. We got all the picks in. We got Shevchenko. We got O'Malley. We got Ortega in the big 3. And, of course, we'll be live Saturday night as they go to the Sphere. It's going to be one to remember. Hope you guys have a great day and God bless. As always, peace.